All right, ready to improve your memory? Over the past few weeks, I've been meeting with the fine people over at HeartScope here in Kansas City. It's all to improve my overall long-term memory using a method that dates back centuries. Flashcards are out. Tom Baker is here to tell us what's in. And Tom, we've been working on learning the presidents. I didn't know them before. I'm quickly learning them. And this is a unique technique where you use, I guess, visual storylines to
because
try to...
Because your brain remembers stories, it remembers narrative, and it especially remembers emotion much better than it remembers isolated facts. In fact, your brain is made to forget, and so if you don't have some emotional or narrative connection to it, your brain, when it forgets, is operating the way it's supposed to.
Okay, so I was going through the presidents. We were using some rhythm to
synchronize.
Reel them off, to synchronize everything. We were also using, I was reading them off the, I guess, off the paper, using some of the verbs that are the actions for the story. But when some of that was taken away, I was cruising along just fine. As soon as you took both of those away, it went wrong very quickly.
Well, first let me say there's nothing wrong with your brain. What was wrong was the way we were delivering it. And even expert brain trainers can make mistakes, and you were doing so well early on in the sequence, we skipped through a couple things, and when we skipped it, we pushed you past the point that your brain was ready to process, and when we did, we shut off your working memory, and probably at that point you noticed that you weren't performing as well as you were before. You may have gotten a little bit nervous when you hit that point.
I did, and I felt the nervousness come on, and that's exactly when I sort of forgot everything, and that working memory stopped. So a child in the classroom, when they're called in French class to read off whatever they just learned, a lot of times have the same thing happen.
Yeah, the brain chemistry is complicated, but the short version is that there's something called cortisol that's washing over your brain, and the job of cortisol is to make you forget. It has some useful things too, but one of the side effects is it makes you forget. And if you keep washing your brain with cortisol day after day after day, it actually changes the way your brain is wired. It actually makes you more prone to test anxiety when you keep experiencing that same thing day after day in class.
Okay, we have a clip to show you, and this is Russell Thorpe, my coach, providing some distraction. We'll see how I get along with this. Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, Adams, Jackson, Van Buren, Harrison, Tyler.
Okay, cool.
See how well you were doing?
Yes.
Even with your coach trying to knock you off course, when you had that visual support called a mnemonic, you were doing great. You were right on target.
Okay, so we will talk with a student that you have this week. We will then have them on the show next week, and we will square off, the two of us live, and see exactly how much I've learned in just a few meetings using this technique.
Should be great.
Thank you so much, Tom. I appreciate it. Tom Baker with HeartScope Learning. You can get much more information on the website, HeartScopeLearning.org, right?
KCBrain.org.
Oh, KCBrain.org. Okay, there you go. And let's get over to Iris for one last look at